Hello, parents. Welcome to our training on teaching kids and teens how to understand and find and meet the need behind their behavior. So, of course, as parents, we are the ones who hold the most responsibility for helping our kids meet these needs when they're younger. But as they get older, they're tweens and teens, they will start to learn to fulfill their needs either by themselves or by asking for support from somebody else who can help them, right? And this is what maturity is. So while our kids are still young, even though they may not have full autonomy in making sure that their needs are met, they can still learn to identify what they need so that they can communicate that need to their parent or caregiver. So that's what today's training is all about. So you'll hear me say this a lot in my coaching and trainings as well. Behavior is simply a message. Behind all behavior is an unmet need. And when you meet the need, the behavior will either lessen or go away completely. But we have been taught as parents through society, through cultural messaging, to focus on reducing or eliminating the behavior, which is simply the symptom. So while this may work in the short term to make our child's presence more acceptable for us and other people, it's not actually getting to the root cause of why the behavior is there in the first place and what's causing the behavior. So it's managing the behavior, managing the symptom, not getting to what's actually going on. So this is often why we see solutions that only focus on rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior stop working after a while, right? It works, the sticker charts work for a while, the punishments work for a while, but eventually our kids learn, what the system is. Our kids are very smart, and so they learn how to beat the system, and they often get rewarded for things when they haven't changed their behavior. Right? Or they may appear to have changed their behavior, but actually the underlying cause is still there. So I like to give parents the analogy of feeling hungry and hearing your stomach growling. Now, we know that our automatic reaction isn't going to get angry at our body or to punish our body for needing food. And we're not going to try to stop the growling because we understand the noise is simply a clue to tell us what our body needs, right? We don't get angry at our body. We don't try to, yell at our body or punish it or deprive it even more, right? We say, oh, my stomach's hungry. I'm this discomfort, this noise I'm feeling means that I need to eat food. I need to put food in my body. And when we meet the need, the growling goes away, the discomfort goes away, right? So much in the same way, if we tune in and follow the clues of our child's behavior, it'll point us to what the actual need is. So being a parent is, I often tell parents this, it's a lot like being a detective. If we didn't, weren't detectives, all of us have detective skills or need to have detective skills in order to parent because it's tricky. We're constantly trying to assess things and interpret things and decipher things and, connect the dots. It's like that crazy meme you see of the guy with all the pins and all the strings, and you're kind of crazy trying to connect the different things and figure out what the actual issue is, right? So grab your detective hat and your magnifying glass and let's get into some of these needs that our children have. So, number one is safety. Now, of course, children have so many different needs, right? Some are going to be really basic, like food and water and shelter. Those are kind of a given. But today we're going to focus on 5 specific needs that all children have. And when they're met, it'll eliminate most big behaviors. So safety is the first need because no matter if you're a newborn baby or you're a 98-year-old woman, we all have the need for safety, right? It's a basic human need. And without feeling safe, children are going to resort to behavior that is going to demand our attention. And the reason for this is because historically, a child needed their parent to pay attention to them. They needed to look at them and listen to them and keep an eye on them. Because without this, a child would have been much more prone to big accidents or danger or even death when we were out living in forests and caves, right? These children didn't have a lot of common sense, so they needed their parents to look out for them. So, this is one of the reasons, right? We often find a child whining or trying to get our attention by bad behavior because they want our attention. It's biologically inputted into their system of my parent needs to pay me attention, otherwise, I don't feel safe. So, when I talk about safety, an important part of safety is not just physical safety, which most of the parents I work with already provide for their kids, right? But we also want to understand not just physical safety, our kids also need to feel emotionally safe with us. This means allowing the full range of our child's emotions, both positive and negative. Right now, this can be so challenging for us as parents because most of us were not allowed to feel these big emotions or express them, the more challenging ones, anyway, right? Especially when we were younger and we would often get punished for it. So, this is why a big part of the work I do with parents is to help them understand what these emotions are, what these emotions are telling us, and also how to help our children learn to feel safe to express these emotions to their parents. Now, one of the things the parents tell me is that if I allow these big emotions, it means the behavior is going to get really difficult. And I'm here to tell you there is a separation. Behavior and emotions are not the same thing. Behavior is internal, our feelings. Emotions are internal. There are feelings that what goes on inside of us. Behavior is external, what we do because of our emotions, right? So we can hold space and allow safety for our child's emotions while still managing the behavior, right? So that is a very interesting balancing game. And I teach parents how to do this in my coaching. Another big need that all children have is the need for movement. Now, children have endless amounts of energy and actually learn best through exploration, movement, and play. There have been so many studies that show that children learn best and learn so much faster when things are exciting and fun for them through play. Now, this is very different to how children spend the majority of their days today, right? They have to sit down at desks. They're being told to be quiet, to stay still, to follow directions, and control their bodies. Now, of course, when they're in school with hundreds of other kids, they need to follow these rules. But it's important that while they have to do that in order to fit in and kind of follow society rules, they also need a chance to be able to fulfill this need for movement. So it's important to kind of also understand that many kids are diagnosed with ADHD and impulse control issues. And those kids often they're not being allowed to move as much as their bodies need them to, right? Historically, we want to look at how we were living thousands of years ago. Before the invention of school, children were out playing in the forests and fields, right? If they were young, and as they got a little bit older, they were helping their parents on the farm. They were getting up early, milking cows and cutting down trees or helping in the fields with their parents. So they were moving a lot. They were getting a chance to burn off the calories they got through their food, which is very different to the food that we eat nowadays, which is very high calorie, highly processed, high sugar, and gives us a lot of calories. But with all these calories going into our children's bodies now, they need to have a chance to burn it off, right? But because they're sitting down, being told to control their bodies and their movements for up to 8 hours a day, you can see where the imbalance is and where a lot of the behavioral issues come from. So, getting your children outside moving is super, super important. Another need that children have is the need for excitement. Now, this can also be thought of as novelty or encountering something new. Because kids' brains are still developing and need material to learn from, they love anything that piques their interest, as this produces dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. So if you ever watch that movie Short Circuit and you think of that robot who's going through all the books really, really fast and he's like getting super excited about everything he learns, and what's the phrase that he says? Need input, right? Need input. And this is like our children. Their brains are growing so fast and they constantly need material to learn and draw from. And this is one of the reasons that kids love video games and phone apps. Developers are very, very smart and they understand the child's psychology and the child's need for bright colors and interesting sounds and new levels and new challenges because it produces dopamine in the children's brains, which is similar to a drug. Right? This is why these games and these phone apps are so addicting to our children. That being said, children also need routines and predictability to help them feel safe. So it's a really difficult balancing act for us parents to give our kids just enough predictability to help them feel safe, but also keeping those routines exciting enough to produce dopamine so the kids will want to do it. Right? This is why parenting is one of the most difficult jobs we're ever going to have. The next need is very near and dear to my heart, and this is what I coach on. This is my niche, building connection. And the reason I chose this niche is because I saw it was linked to almost every aspect of effective parenting. Connection is linked to safety because when we don't feel safe with someone, we're not going to want to connect with them, right? So we have a distinct advantage as parents because regardless of whether we actually are safe and provide safety for our kids are biologically wired to want to always connect with us, no matter how painful it is. And if I'm sure if you really tap into your own, thoughts and emotions, there is a part of you that no matter what your relationship with your parent is like, if it's they're completely cut out of my life, we're estranged, we're close, we're, whatever it is, you always want to be close to your parents. And this is where there's so much pain when there is disconnection from them, even as adults, right? So this can create conflict. This need for connection with our parents can create conflict because their need for connection also fights their need to feel safe. If we are not safe parents, right? They want to connect with us, but they also need to feel safe. Which one do I choose over the other? Which one's more important? And also vice versa. Their need to feel safe may fight their need for connection. So the younger a child is, most of the time they will choose connection over safety. But as our kids start to get older and they get to teenagers, they will often choose disconnection from a parent or caregiver that doesn't feel safe to them, right? As children, they still need us, right? They rely on us for their survival. When our kids stop relying on us to feed them and to clothe them and to protect their bodies, they will often choose safety over connection, right? And this is where we see so many parents struggling with their relationships with their teenagers. So when our child feels connected to us, we are able to guide and influence them much more easily than if our child doesn't feel close to us. Most parents come into my world thinking they want to improve their child's behavior in some way, but I tell them we really need to focus less on the behavior and more on building or rebuilding connection, because sometimes their behavior, or many times their behavior, is stemming from wanting to feel connected to them as parents, right? And it's so counterintuitive because often our child's behavior is so difficult that the last thing we want to do is connect with them, right? We want to push them away. Go to your room. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to see this. And this is the irony of parenting, right? Our children, sometimes their behavior is completely the opposite to what they actually need. And this is where it's our job as parents to understand and to decipher this behavior. So we talk about the need for mastery in another one of our trainings, but another name for mastery is competence or being good at something, right? Feeling like they have the ability to succeed is closely linked to your child's confidence. Now, every child is different and has different abilities. They also have different learning styles, right? This is not something we knew maybe 50 years ago, but now there is so much research done and we're starting to understand these things. And so it's changed the way that we're understanding this as parents. Now, some kids will excel academically, right? They're going to do super well in school, they're going to test really well, and yet other kids may struggle at school. But yet, those same kids may have these abilities in art or music or creativity or sports, right? So it's really important to not compare our children's abilities to what the world or society considers quote unquote smart or talented. There's that famous quote that's attributed to Albert Einstein. I don't know if it's actually him, but he said, "If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish is going to live its whole life believing it is stupid." Right? So, what we want to do is compare our child to themselves, not to anybody else, not to what the world thinks is popular or what they should, their test scores or how they show up on the soccer field, any of that, because your child may be gifted in a different way. As our understanding of ability has grown a lot in the last couple decades, with researchers and scientists understanding more about things like neurodivergence and how different brains work, right? This has helped us develop a much broader understanding of what talent and intelligence is. So, if you want to learn more about different kinds of intelligences, I encourage you to look up Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theories. It talks about I think, 7 or 8 different types of different intelligences. And you can also see, I think there is probably a test you can do online to see where your child may score more highly in and where they're going to score a little bit lower in. And so it can help us adjust expectations of them. So now that we've talked a little bit about each of these needs that kids have, and we understand now that all behavior is an unmet need, or it's a sign of an unmet need, let's talk a little bit about some common behaviors and what need might be driving them, and how our child or parent could meet that need. So let's talk about a common younger child behavior, which is whining. Now, I know a lot of parents, especially the ones of like preschool or like kindergarten age kids, talk about how their kids whine a lot. Now, let's look at that's the behavior, whining. The need behind it is safety and connection, right? So, how would we meet that need? That when my child is whining, they need to feel connected to me and they need to feel safe. So, what can I do to provide safety and connection to them? I can give them a cuddle, right? I can take them to my arms, physical touch. I can pay them attention, right? Put my phone down, actually look at them, talk to them, get down on their level, sit on the floor with them. And also, when they need to feel safe, it's really important we use a calm voice and regulated presence. We're not going to come in all stressed out and start yelling at our kid. Why are you whining? What's wrong? Just stop whining, right? We are not providing safety and connection if we do that, right? So we won't see the behavior go away. You may see it escalate. The second one we're going to talk about is maybe for older kids, defiant behavior or power struggles. What's the need there? Connection and mastery. So again, we want our children to feel safe to us because oftentimes they want to feel like we care about them, right? And so oftentimes their behavior is asking, even with this, behavior that is difficult for you to handle, do you still love me? Am I still valuable to you? Right? And so they're often angry because of something, right? So we want to offer them empathy, right? And I teach parents how to do this in my one-on-one coaching, how to offer empathic presence for our children. And that for the need of mastery, we want to be able to give them a choice, right? So many of our parenting skills requires you do this, and constantly just barking out orders and telling them how to do things and when to do things and how to get it done, all of these things. And our children want to feel like they're good at something, like they have some say in the matter. So by giving them a choice, it helps them feel more connected to us, one, that my parent cares about what I think. And number two, I get to say how I do this so I can show if I'm good at this and how I'm good at this, right? Giving them a choice. Another one is rowdy behavior, right? And this is probably something from all ages. We have 2-year-olds jumping on the sofa, and I have my 16-year-olds running around the house chasing after their brothers with a toy sword. So it's not really something that goes away. And what might be the need behind that behavior? Movement and excitement, right? So getting our kids outside, exercising, moving their bodies, having them laugh together, playing together, or when you have something that is more difficult that they have to do, a task they have to do, making it into a game. So, hey, there's a whole bunch of toys on the floor. Instead of you better pick up all your toys before dinner or otherwise no TV, right? That's punishing. We're not giving them, it's not exciting for them, right? They just feel punished and controlled. We want to make it a game. Hey, I'm going to set the timer for 30 seconds. Let's see how many of the blocks you can pick up in 30 seconds. Or, hey, competition, giving them, this is mastery, right? Let me see who's going to pick up more toys, mom or you, right? Giving them an opportunity to show their mastery and their competence. Another big behavior I get a lot of parents talk to me about is lying. Now, what is the need behind lying? Safety, connection, and mastery. And we can help our children meet that need by, number one, controlling our own reaction. When our child comes to us to tell us something minor, not to freak out and yell and start punishing and send them to their room, because they learn we are not a safe person to come to with their struggles, right? To come to with their poor behavior, to come to with their poor decisions. They need to feel safe with us. They need to feel connected to us. So this means becoming an ally instead of somebody who just punishes them, right? You can 100% address the behavior like, wow. And most of the time when they come to us anyway, they already feel guilt and shame, right? And that's probably why they didn't want to come to us in the first place, because they know they did something wrong. And so when we can acknowledge like, wow, well, first of all, thank you for coming to me with that. I know that must have been really difficult for you. It must have been a little bit scary. You didn't know if mom or dad were going to freak out, but I'm here to help to tell you that we will address 100% the consequences of what happened there. But also I am here to help you. I'm on our same side as you. We're a team and we are going to get through this together. Right? There are going to be consequences, right? I'm not letting you off the hook, but at the same time, I'm here to support you. And you will see your child feel so much safer to come to you with things when you come with that attitude of, I'm on your side, I'm here to help. Another thing is providing a clear framework for our children to follow of expectations, right? Sometimes we just bark out orders and we don't break things down to make it easy for our kids, and we give them 101 different things to do. And then we wonder why they haven't gotten it done, because our kids are easily distracted, or maybe they're struggling with getting those tasks done and knowing how to do it. So they lie to us instead of saying, hey, mom, I just didn't know how to do my laundry, so I didn't do it, right? So giving our children a clear framework for expectations, and also helping our children develop a growth mindset so they see that all of their mistakes are simply something to learn from. This is something else I do in my coaching. I teach kids to develop a growth mindset because so many of us are shamed and guilted for making any kind of mistakes, right? That's the way the world works. If you make a mistake, you're a bad person. If you are perfect, you're a good person, right? But mistakes are simply an opportunity to learn, an opportunity for growth. And they're not bad or embarrassing. So helping our children develop this mindset, and also helping our children to celebrate their own baby steps. Any kind of improvement or growth, we celebrate them. We don't say, well, you could have done better, right? That's going to help them. That's going to make them feel worse. We want to celebrate any improvement, baby steps. Another difficult behavior is maybe laziness or irresponsibility from our tweens and teens as they get older. How come my kid can't wash their laundry or do the dishes or keep their room clean or whatever? What's the need behind those behaviors? Mastery, safety, and connection. Right? So again, giving our kids clear expectations of different tasks that they need to complete, helping them understand also how their behavior impacts their family. So honey, when you don't clear your dishes from your room, it will, it means it's one more thing for mom to worry about. It's one more thing that, we may get mice in our house, which means that dad's going to have to bring in an exterminator. And it means we got to pay the exterminator, which means less money for us to put towards a family outing or things like that, right? All of their behavior has a consequence, but sometimes they struggle to make the connection. So, helping them understand and connect the dots of how their behavior impacts the rest of the family, which also impacts them, right? Because our teenagers are a little bit self centered. And so, if it's like, okay, so what? Mom and dad have to work extra hard because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. How does that impact me? I don't care. But when we bring it back full circle to, hey, when we're a family, we're a community, what happens under our roof also affects you, then they start to be like, oh, okay. So I see that if mom and dad are paying out money for something that I damaged in the house because of my laziness or my irresponsibility, and it means that they've got less money to then spend on my sports or taking me out shopping. Ooh, okay. Right. So we have to bring it around full circle. And also making it safe for our kids to come to us if have a question about what they're supposed to be doing or they need help. Giving our kids a chance to succeed by making tasks manageable and clear, and also praising their effort and not just the result, right? Executive function, having kids break things down into easier bite-sized pieces, making lists, all of these things can help them be more successful. All right. So, if you've enjoyed our content and are interested in learning more about the work that I do with kids and teens and also parents, or even if you would like support in your kids' school, or you have an idea for me to come in and help with your an event or anything, I invite you to send us an email at hello@victorkidslifecoaching.com, or check out our website at victorkidslifecoaching.com to see our different programs and offerings. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.